Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 182 of the Argument Podcast. I'll be your host today, Patrick. And joining me today are my three caught-on-camera co-hosts.
It is Johanathan.
It is found in the dirt, covered by the dirt, eating the dirt, Colt.
It's Blair Witch Wenzel.
And we're keeping right on the spooky track with our third week of spooky content in October. And much like the same vein of last year when we talked about the subgenre of J-horror, we're talking about another subgenre of horror movies today, and that's found footage horror movies.
Woo, 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 woo,
Woo!
So, found footage is a bit of a, I would say, controversial or...
It's very frowned upon, and because, especially after Paranormal Activity, there were just so many of these movies, and 99% of them were fucking garbage.
The Paranormal Activity 100% turned me off of found footage movies, and that sucks because after watching these movies, I actually really like them. I think they're really fun.
I like found footage as a concept because there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with it. But yeah, a lot of people just... I know one of the big things a lot of people talk about is they don't think through the logic of why people are recording this thing.
Especially when things get dramatic or tense where people's lives are in danger and I got to run away or help somebody, but also I got to hold this camera.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some limitations within the genre, but it's all about how you do it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I was also going to say, too, Paranormal Activity may have, jump-started kind of the tirade of hate, but, really, when the Blair Witch Project came out, everybody was kind of, all for that shit.
Which is interesting because Blair Witch is, in a lot of, believe that sort of started the subgenre, but there wasn't, a proliferation of movies in the same vein after it came out.
Do you want to know the actual first found footage movie? It's a really controversial movie.
I know what you're talking about.
It's Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I haven't seen it, but yeah.
It's controversial for obvious reasons.
Yeah. So...
Yeah.
But we weren't talking about that. But we do have 5 films in the found footage genre we're talking about today. Each one of us contributed to the film, including one of our good friends who couldn't be on the show today, Liz. She contributed film to discussion today. We'll be talking about that in turn. And to kick off the conversation, the first film we'll be talking about today is John Eric Dowdle's 2014 movie, As Above, So Below. And Colt, this was your pick, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Colt, what made you want to contribute this film to the discussion? And once you discuss that, lead us into the conversation with how you felt.
Alrighty. I picked this movie because I've already seen it, 2018, and I really liked it. I thought it was really fun. At the time, I hadn't seen that many found footage movies, so I remembered this one, and I remembered that I liked that. So why not recommend it to everyone? So that's why I picked it. But how I felt about the movie, rewatching it, I feel exactly the same. 3.5 stars. It's a very fun movie that takes place in the catacombs of Paris, which I thought was really, really interesting. I find the exploration videos on YouTube about the Paris catacombs to be extremely interesting. I will spend hours and hours watching people walk through those catacombs, looking at these bones of people that died hundreds of years ago. I just think it's all really, really cool. And the fact that they actually filmed the movie in the Paris catacombs was insane to me.
Yeah, I was looking that up as we were watching the movie today, and I was like, well, shit, because I was like, wow, these sets look really convincing. It's like, oh, it's the actual place they're filming.
And I guess the medium they chose, found footage, is probably the best way to film the catacombs because it is so tightly constricted, so they can't really allow for bigger sets and movements and camera equipment. So it seems like it's the best way to do it. And plus, like you said, Colt, there are all these like urban exploration videos online where people, exploring themselves, and just even if you're not a believer in the supernatural, just being in a place like that is very haunting. Just like, because people can get lost. People do get lost because there's so much of the catacombs that even today are still uncharted or just in danger of collapsing just due to age.
God, you have no clue how
Yep.
much I love urban exploration. I love history. I love going or watching people go to historical sites like old hospitals, old abandoned malls, all these old stuff. And yesterday when I watched the movie, I spent probably 10 hours watching people just go to random old shit, mostly the catacombs, because that shit's extremely interesting. Watching people pan their camera up in like a pit where they dumped the bodies in the 1700s, and you could see the bones and how they stacked them. It's incredibly morbid, but it's also just really, really interesting to see this stuff. I highly recommend whenever you're bored, just go look up some urban exploration people. You will have a blast if you're interested in this kind of stuff. That is.
Yeah, and like this movie totally plays into that. Like it urban exploration and that kind of that genre works for this, especially for, like Pat said, the tight quarters and everything. I remember the when this film first came out, the marketing for it, back when he was hitting his peak, PewDiePie was invited to go and do a video for going actually through like a guided kind of like area of the catacombs where he had like they essentially like set up like people like to scare him and for him to sort of solve puzzles and stuff to make his way out as for like advertising for the movie and stuff.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I when this was like the movie came out 2014.
This was
it was
big bad PewDiePie news.
Yeah, so he was hitting his peak, and yeah, I remember watching that and I was like, oh, that's neat, and that's also what kind of made me like want to watch the movie. I saw it in theaters when it first came out, and now fuck PewDiePie, of course, he's a terrible person, but yeah, that was just something interesting. Why don't you tell us about the plot, Colt? Sorry, hold on. You should say minor spoilers, possibly full major spoilers.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
spoilers.
Do we want to go full in on the spoilers or hold something back for anybody who hasn't seen it?
I mean, there's not really much to spoil in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much it is what you expect from the marketing.
Yeah.
So,
but just going forward, there will be spoilers, maybe to a greater or lesser extent, depending on the film we're talking about. Yeah. So, you haven't seen any of these films, you want to maybe take a break, come back and see them, and then come back and listen to it. So, let this be your sort of, brain release for what you just saw.
Yeah.
But Colt, continue if you would.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, the movie, it's essentially Tomb Raider, but slightly different. It takes the main character is a woman. I can't remember her name.
Scarlet.
Scarlet. Her father dies via suicide. He hung himself, and she, I'm assuming, found his research and wanted to like find out what he was doing, and he was going after the Philosopher's Stone, and she just picks up the work from where he left off. And she goes about the journey to get it in the catacombs in Paris. And, yeah, it's actually a really simple little plot there. That's the movie. Yeah. I was going to say, but, like, of course, some wild shit does happen because it is called As Above, So Below, which I always fuck up the title saying, like, so above, below, as, or as below.
The movie title isn't complicated, but I feel like I mess it up every time I want to say it.
Exactly.
I do have to like sit and think. Okay, as above, so below.
It's a very unnatural phrase.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say that's easy to remember. For me, I have to think of an image, and I always think of the Star of David when I think of As Above, So Below.
Yeah,
because they use that iconography as part of the spooky like frescoes in the underground tombs.
Yeah, well, also because like it's weird. I don't know much about it, but like for like the symbols involving magic and alchemy, there's when you put it's like they're literally triangles or deltas, and delta, does delta mean triangle? I don't know. Anyway, it's like a triangle, and then
it's
like
the Greek letters a triangle.
Oh, delta. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's like a triangle, and it's like there's one for air, one for earth, one for water, and one for fire. And when you put them together, they make like a star. And that when you put them together, that means as above, so below. That goes into whole magical shit especially with alchemy and the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
I was talking about with this cult too the other night, but I didn't talk about it fully. It's just such a fucking typical, stereotypical, adventurous English fucking archaeologist that my name's Scarlett. I have like 20 PhDs, and I'm gonna look for the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
she's like, I have 20 PhDs in everything you can imagine, and no 4 spoken languages and 2 dead ones. And I'm like, oh, holy shit, we got ourselves a badass over here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so. And I told Colt this. It totally starts out like a fucking heist film.
Yeah. Also,
she has to. Go ahead. She has to build her crew.
I was just gonna say that the worst thing about this movie is the acting. The acting is atrocious. It's not good at all, but everything else about it, in my opinion, was pretty damn fun.
I mean, I didn't think the acting was terrible.
I didn't have any problem with the acting, but then also hot take. I've never watched a movie where the acting was a deterrent to my immersion or enjoyment to a movie. That's just me.
Yeah, like for me, it had like the acting has to be actively horrendous,
or the script
but,
is terrible.
Well, I was gonna say the script was kind of dumb, I mean, I guess when you I have to agree with Colt though. Like the acting wasn't the best, but that just might have been purely the script because with this movie, I was definitely immersed, but I was just kind of more like, if I was there, I would be like a better character.
Yeah,
in my mind,
well, the thing is, if I was in this fucking movie, I wouldn't be there.
Oh, I'm
because,
claustrophobic as hell.
Oh no, for sure. I would.
Because John
I would
and I
have
were
never
talking
went there.
it's also just saying it's only white people that go digging around in the dirt looking into abandoned tombs and shit because hey, maybe there's a reason that some stuff is just left in the dirt. If it's important, we would have remembered it.
I
Exactly.
don't agree with that because I love watching this stuff. I think it's really fun. I wouldn't do it myself, so I'm glad that someone else is wild enough to go look at historical
someone be
things.
done for me so I can live vicariously.
And I was also about to say too, a lot of people in the past, they don't remember where to tell people where shit is. That's why we have to fucking figure it out, and it sucks ass.
That's why we find bombs under random city streets because of the fucking Revolutionary War, not revolution, Civil War and Revolutionary War.
Or they just set traps, and it's we forgot those were there. Watch out. Thanks.
Yeah, be respectful after your war. Dig up your traps. It's just sensible.
I mean, I would say yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Just make
I
sure
would say yeah.
Make sure you leave your breadcrumbs Hansel and Gretel style so you can come back to them.
Because I will say that is something, and with not just this movie, but just general spelunking Indiana Jones type movies, it's just how do people make these sort of elaborate traps and how they get themselves back out? Because I know with this one it's a little more wibbly wobbly because there's some magic bullshit in it, but it's there was one puzzle where they had pull a rock out that's really just rock stacked up. If you pull the wrong one out, the whole bitch falls on top of you.
Yeah,
and just sort of
Well, I mean that was some shit with pyramid stuff. I think because I mean the pyramid did actually have traps that would deter grave robbers.
Yeah, Pat, have you ever played Jenga? If you pull the wrong one, it all falls.
Yeah, that's a trap.
That is very true.
You just see like baby Scarlet. It's like, okay, Scarlet, we're playing Jenga because this will prepare you for the pyramids. And also, he throws salt in her face like in the Mummy to scar her.
God.
Yeah. Oh fuck. Yeah. She. Oh my God. You know what? The beginning. Oh my God. Like I said, it plays out like a heist movie because she has to build her crew, and it's just so funny because she goes to the one guy. Like I said, this is like totally a heist movie because she goes to the one guy, and the camera, the recorder guy is like, Benji's like, what are you doing? And she breaks into a fucking church, and it's like, and she's like, yeah, this guy kind of likes to break into these old historical sites that don't work, and he likes to fix them. Like, yeah, that's something that people do.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's like this really oddly specific skill set.
Like he breaks in to historical sites to fix old historical things for no money or profit or whatsoever, and people have to keep him out from restoring stuff. That doesn't make any sense.
It's like, how dare you fix our giant, church bells and mechanisms? Like, what a vandal.
Like, I mean, really though.
And also,
he was
of course,
like, they have,
or it's like that bell was broken for a reason, jackass.
that summons the ghosts in underground. We shut the bell off 100 years ago because the dead were coming back.
Or it was just annoying as fuck.
It's like this bell. I'm gonna say it too loud.
Yeah, that bell was very loud, but it makes sense considering they're right next to it and all that.
Yeah.
It's not just the
I mean,
bell. I found that like random audio parts. I was watching it with headphones because I was sitting at my computer, but it was so loud, especially with like cave-ins and stuff like that. It just, Jesus Christ, it sounded good, but it was very loud.
Yeah, like especially like the big like jump scare stings were. It just seemed like someone took the bass boost on the audio and cranked it to 11 for that split second.
Yeah.
And also, Scarlett and George, they want to fuck.
no, because okay, I have to explain this too. The reason why she has to find George is because he's the only one that knows Aramaic, which is another dead language. She doesn't speak it, surprisingly, so she has to get it George. And then also this whole thing of like George saying, "You need to stay from this one. You're crazy, just like your father. You left me in Turkey for a week.
You're just like your father."
This is a heist movie. I will say it. This is a heist movie because the way he talks, he's like, "You're crazy. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. All right, one more time."
And the entire time he's like protesting. He's like, I ain't going in there. I ain't going there. Fine, I'm going in there. But I'm not I'm going in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, I will say the only reason why he even went into the catacombs was because this scared me because I forgot about this. A cop fucking tackles Papillon.
It's
That
so
scared
out
me.
of nowhere. He charges and hits him as hard as he can.
Like you just hit him with with an edge style spear, just like knocked his ass to the ground.
God.
And somehow Papillon gets out of that pretty quickly, and
With
he's
smoke
safe.
bombs. With smoke
He's just
bombs.
like-
He has smoke bombs and uses those.
Just like ninja smoke grenade pops out, or like what?
bitch.
Oh my God. Or maybe it's like spores and scales because papillon means butterfly. He grounds up butterflies. He's very theatrical.
Yeah. There's a guy. Okay, later when they get the rest of their crew, it's a urban explorer guy who goes to the catacombs. Papillon. His other friend, Susie, named after Susie and the Banshee. That's a band, and Zed. I assume Led Zeppelin. Fuck.
Wait, what?
Zed Lepin.
Was
Zed
Zed
Lepin?
Zed Leplin.
was Zed the one that said that? Look at my impression.
Yep.
Yes.
He did that Robert De Niro
Robert De
impression.
Niro, boy.
What the fuck?
God damn it.
What the fuck? When I was playing with Cole on Cold War, I was like, dude, when you watch As Above, So Below, there's a really good Robert De Niro bit. And I forgot about that, And having seen more of Robert De Niro stuff, it was a good impersonation.
Yeah, I mean, he did do his scrunched up face.
Robert De Niro. What the fuck?
But yeah, it was. I will say, I personally enjoy the heist part of the movie more than the horror part of the movie.
I don't agree with
I mean,
that, but okay.
I don't agree with that, but that's your opinion, Jonathan, and it it's fine.
I know it's my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I said.
I don't agree with
Because-
it, and I'm like kind of getting hostile thinking about your opinion.
I'm kind of not liking
well,
you now,
you know,
Jonathan.
sometimes you're just fucking wrong.
Because that's where it drops. Like that's where it was kind of like tough for me, especially watching that in theater, because like the script, the acting right there, it was like it's so cheesy, so much like a heist movie. I was like, shit, let's just get where we need to be going. And when we pick up for the horror stuff, that's where I get that's where I get excited. I got my thrills, I guess.
Yeah, like for me, I was like really intrigued by the premise. I was like, okay, this is cool, even though the main chick was pissing me off the entire movie. But yeah, like I was like, okay, this is really cool, and then it kind of just devolves into like standard horror movie. Well, like this was something I told Pat like after we watched it, like the Paris catacombs are creepy as fucking shit, but somehow this movie for me made them less scary.
I mean, they're not really that scary. The scariest part is how big they are and how you can get lost. But like, it's just a bunch of bodies and dust and the occasional party.
I mean, yeah, that's literally what it is. You have a bunch of bones, and then you might have some parties, some vandals in there. That's it. I mean, because like this is your found footage horror movie. It takes place in the catacombs. You're dealing with some supernatural shit. Which is like also what kind of like divides me on this movie, because it's like, okay, this is kind of fun, but then it's kind of stupid because that was something that made me so upset about Scarlett. Was like, she was like, or everybody really, she was like, she was very skeptical of like all of this supernatural shit, like, oh, this, do you believe in that stuff? Well, I don't, this impossible, and she's looking for the fucking Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, listen, homegirl, alchemy is magic plus science. Like, you're gonna tell me?
Well, it was science before science.
You're gonna tell me just rock and like turn metals and different metals and like bring the dead back to life or whatever or some shit, but also like ghosts? I don't think so, bud.
I think
But
the Elrics,
really, like,
it's like I think the Elrics even realized, hey, this is probably not a good idea.
fuck. Rest in peace, boys. Nah, they're not dead. It's just rest in peace.
Rest in peace, their mom, though. Heyo.
Rest in peace to various body parts.
My interpretation of the ending, I want to see what you guys think, but my interpretation is, because the movie's called As Above, So Below. I think I said that right. So everything above is the same as below. So I'm picturing a mirrored session, or a mirrored thing where like it's the same above, so it's the same below. I'm thinking at the end of the movie, they did not enter their original world. They entered the hell version, or the, I don't know what to call it, maybe purgatory version of their world, because they
you
did
would probably
not.
call it a mirror world.
Because the thing is, called like I was thinking along the same lines at first, but then the movie just kind of ends without like any sort of fanfare.
I
It's
mean,
just like,
yeah,
that's it?
I think it's like saying like maybe some weird shit happens, because like once they go into the upside down or the opposite version, that's when like hell. It's hell. You go through the gates of hell, and then you experience all these spirits and stuff, because that stuff wasn't really happening until they made it through to a certain point.
yeah. Granted,
that's the
I kind of thought and had my fingers crossed that when they pulled the manhole back, that when they got out, they were in China, like in the old Looney Tunes cartoons.
Fuck.
That'd be a good bit.
Wouldn't that be like fucking great?
You know what?
Because
Yes.
I will say with it, like, my sort of criticism of the movie, like, I feel like it was a pretty interesting kind of standard kind of adventure film. Like, to me, I feel like it would have, like, when I was getting more spooked, it was more so like the claustrophobia of it. That was where my main anxiety was coming from.
Oh yeah.
Like the actual spooky shit, that wasn't getting to me. 'Cause I felt
Yeah,
like
I agree.
for me, it would have been more spooky if it was played more subtly. Like, like have like some kind of cult down there, like like when they met like that wizard guy, robe guy in the chair, like that could have been spooky. Because like the thing, like if I wasn't scared before, like the second like Papillon gets sucked into a flaming car and disappears, like that. Okay, any tension the movie has just gets sucked away with that scene.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I totally agree. That's my problem with the movie, is that like it just feels like it just missed super hard, and that's kind of disappointing. Because like there's that beginning part when they're going through, and Papillon's like he's like, there's just a bunch of weirdos down here sometimes, and it's like it's some women, they're a cult and they're singing. Like that was pretty creepy. And then the guy getting up from the chair, then smoke was coming out of him, like that was creepy too. But I was gonna say something though, Cole. That's an interesting interpretation, because that's what I thought. But like, because they kind of, the way they leave it off is just kind of like probably not. But that, like, I'll accept that as my canon, that they end up in some mirror world, because that'd be cool.
But then how did whoever gets the footage get the footage?
I don't know. It's a
sorry?
movie. I don't fucking know.
I'm just saying.
Maybe
Well,
we're already in hell right now. We're in the mirror world itself. That's how we found the footage.
No, I was asking Jonathan. What did he say?
Oh, I was saying. Shit, I done forgot.
He just said like how'd they find the footage? It's a found footage, so that's why I said what I said.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because maybe me, you, us, this podcast takes place in the mirror world, and we're not in the normal world. Maybe that's the case because we found it in ours.
Or Colt, hear me out. What if instead they go in the hell world, they actually come to our world?
That's what I just said.
No. What I'm saying is, we're not the hell world. They came from the hell world.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 381 of the HYCA podcast.
I'll be your host today, Lesnu.
I am Tlock. Hear me chew, Bones.
It's me.
Nothocogen.
It's me, your favorite brunette, Kurtap.
Oh, God.
Oh, wait. Does that mean I'm blonde? Okay, that makes it easy for me to dye my hair.
Yeah, and then I'm a lanky blonde boy with you.
And Jonathan's bald.
Yeah.
Just flat bald.
I'm
the
a
opposite
bald
of Wenzel is a dog or an otter. Or a raccoon. I'll take a raccoon.
All right. But yeah, it was fine. Like I didn't like it was. Like, even all the gripes I have with the movie, it was not that, like, super big of a deal for me. Like, honestly,
yeah.
I'm probably not going to remember it in the next couple days.
Oh. I really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite found footage movies. It's not my favorite, but I really like it. I will remember it probably forever.
I'm sorry to shit on the movie, Colt.
I remember. I mean, I still remember from watching it in theaters. I remember having a good time with it. It was just still very disappointing. Because I was gonna say this, the magic stuff. Because you have this Philosopher's Stone, and then you talk about hell and stuff. It's like, were they in hell, or was just the guy who set it up really just used really powerful magic to make them think they were in hell? Mirror worlds and making their thoughts realities and stuff like that. I think that that ambiguity, if they would have played with that more, I just think that would have been so much cooler. Or maybe to outright just say, hey, this is magic and we're not in hell. We're just really fucked right now.
Oh, speaking of magic, also, does Homegirl still have her powers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because that was a bit for me. I thought was because there was some of this movie I had an inkling of, and that was a bit where they get to the end and and her boyfriend gets bit by the fucking rock monster. He gets bit in the neck, and he's like, "Oh no, the Philosopher's Stone, it doesn't work." And then she's like, did some bullshit. It's like, "Oh wait, the stone I have is a fake stone. So hold on, boo."
She has to go all the way back.
She has to run just pell mell all the way back to to the fucking beginning of the reverse thing. Is again, like, she puts the stone back in the hole, and then it's like, okay, where's the real stone? And she rubs off her mirror, and it's like, oh, I'm the stone.
Yeah, the real stone's
Because
the
she's
friends
covered
we
in-
made along the way. Yeah.
The real stone is love.
And then on her way back, we cannot be remiss without mentioning the fact that one of the stone monsters tries to grab her, and she fucking donkey punches.
Yeah.
She pushes him. She
just,
pushes
like-
him down.
Like, fuck you, bitch.
Like, she can't be bothered. And she did it both times, running there and running back. She's just like, get out the way, bitch.
Move,
And
bitch.
like how? Okay, if that's possible, then why the fuck did dude get his throat ripped out? Like,
Because he's a little bitch, that's why.
And I just thought it was funny that, like, it took an hour for us to get to the other end of this tunnel from the starting of the reverse point, and this chick, she just, like, speed runs this shit in, like, 10 minutes.
literally,
While he's bleeding out of his neck, and, like, these rock monsters are just slowly getting towards them.
and like people in black cloaks, and then also she takes the time to fucking hug her dead father, which was, I guess, really sad, but it's like, okay. And then, you know, takes the time to look at all the hands in the blood water. There's also a cheesy bit too where her father was hanging, made a bag on his head, so she took the bag off and it was her face screaming at her. Like, okay, yeah, we get it, you're supposed to be crazy like your dad. Good,
Or
I guess.
Yeah. Like, because
scary.
there were a couple jump scares that I was like it was like, oh, I got you, and I'm just like, no,
You didn't.
I'm perfectly fine.
Because there's a lot of people are like wringing their hands over the guilt or whatever they did. Like, it's like, I'm the one that killed my father because I didn't answer his phone call when he reached out to me the night of his death. But also, I'm like you said, I'm on the clock, but I'm gonna have this moment of, like, emotional closure with this ghost.
Well, that's how they, at least how I understood, that's how they had to get out. They all had to come to terms.
But
with,
no, that was explicit. It's just funny that she's like, my boyfriend's bleeding to death. Let me just have this moment real fast.
Just, you know, no worries. God, like that, you know, I think that's the best part of the film because it's just how ridiculous it is.
Yeah.
And oh man. Sorry, before I forget, Papillon though, when he gets sucked into the burning car, I just think that was so fucking great that when the car disappears, the only thing left was his legs in the ground. Like, I couldn't take that serious.
And they tried to pull him out, and then they were just like, fuck it, just leave him here.
Like, I wish they would have just gone further and they pulled his legs out, but like they're just burnt stumps. Like that, I think that would have been kind of fun. And also, I did think it was great though how the guy that was burning in the car was the guy that told the original two people, Scarlett and Benji, about Papillon in the catacombs when they were taking the tour. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then also, like, okay, is that magic? Like, what is that?
I don't know.
I guess as good as mine.
It's a movie. I take it as it is.
Yeah.
You love it so much, Colt. Explain it to me right now.
We just talked about it.
Yeah, give us your deep lore movie YouTube video. Top 10 things you miss in As Above, So Below.
So below.
There
Number
was a
One
one.
dog.
that came out 6 years ago.
Number 2, Papillon, kind of hot. Number 3, that girl with the white dress, kind of scary. Number 4, I shit my pants.
Number 5, I didn't shit my pants.
Number 6, I'm out of facts. Good night.
But one thing is we're not out of, and that's more movies.
Woo!
And going on to our next film, we have 2007's The Poughkeepsie Tapes, directed by John Eric Dowdle.
The same guy who did the previous movie we talked about.
So it's a double feature. Now, Jonathan, you picked this film. So what led you to choose this one and lead us into the conversation?
I first found out about this movie. There's a guy on YouTube named Ryan Hollinger. He's the Scottish guy who does a lot of really cool video essays on horror movies. You should check him out. He's fucking great. And a lot of the stuff, he kind of pulls a lot of like really obscure movies. And this one was really hard to find for the longest time because it was originally going to get a theatrical release and then didn't for whatever reason, and then the home video was out of print until like 3 years ago. But yeah, it was just him explaining the concept of the movie made me really interested in it. And for me, it actually led to me suggesting this topic for the podcast, being like, hey, let's just talk about some like more obscure found footage movies. But the premise of the movie is there is the serial killer in the Poughkeepsie area around like New York tri-state area, and the authorities find the guy's house and a bunch of these videotapes. They don't find him, and they find one of his victims he's kept alive. And so it's shot like one of those like really crappy like true crime documentaries you'd see on like Discovery Channel or something like that.
Yeah, but I eat those up too. They're fun when you're wanting some good entertainment.
Oh yeah. And it's just sort of chronicling the I guess, lack of a better term, career of this serial killer who is terrorizing this area. And yeah, what did y'all think about it?
I thought it was really, really good. It's realistic. It's out of all the found footage today, I feel like it's the most realistic. It's horrifying in a weird way, because every single thing that happens in this movie is extremely possible and has happened before. I will argue there's one thing that happens towards the end where I was like, okay, that's pushing it. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it's scary because at work my thing is listening to true crime podcasts. I listen to people describe horrible things in detail that actually happened, and it adds up. It's really fucking scary in that way. I also think the moments when the killer visits one of the victim's mother, I thought that was also really scary, but at the same time, also very realistic. As in, like, some of these fuckers will be so weird and creepy in the way that they'll go to a victim's family, back to the crime scene, essentially, and just be there just because they get off to it or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, too, he's kind of a fucking dork.
Oh, yeah.
But that's because, like, all these serial killers, like, the sort of pop cultural narrative of what serial killers are these just, like, almost, like, untouchable monsters, but they're really just a bunch of fucking nerds.
Oh, yeah. All serial killers are just a bunch of weak man-children, usually. They're just terrible idiots.
Yep.
Yeah, especially when the guy in the movie is like in the plague doctor outfit.
Realistic. That's extremely realistic right there, because serial killers, they'll do the most cheesiest bullshit.
And like that one was specifically even cited in the movie as like, yeah, it's like he's very theatrical,
yeah.
And you can definitely have that with these fuckers. Yeah, I really like this. It was, oh my god! Like Colt said, or like Jonathan said, it plays out kind of like those cheesy old true crime documentaries, and for me, I don't know why. For me, like at first that kind of hurt it for me, but then like after Jonathan saying that, and then me remembering, I'm like, yeah, that kind of fits it.
Yeah, because I had a similar experience where I was like, okay, yeah, like I was like, yeah, the acting's kind of stilted and whatnot, and I have a lot of problems with this movie. It's not perfect, or I would even say good, but that aspect, because a lot of those those true crime like documentaries that you'd see on like the ID channel or something like that.
Yeah.
All the people they interview act the same way.
Yeah. But something I was gonna say though is that this serial killers are awful, terrible fuckers. But then there are definitely some in history that are actually very smart. And in this film, even though it's fictional, our main killer is actually very smart, and that's also what I enjoyed about with the police and the investigators and stuff, was like they were just kind of like they were talking about like his MO, his process, and everything. And it was just that to me was kind of interesting, even though it was completely fake. I know I looked up some stuff about what people, because there were some things I was curious about this movie, and I know some people didn't like that, but I thought that was pretty good in my opinion, just because like it makes it like it really adds to this believability, like, okay, yeah, this is like a very demented, fucked up person, but he's also very intelligent and like completely possible.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I really like about this movie is there's no closure at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and a lot of times that's just how real life is. Things just, horrible shit happens and there's no explanation for it or no cathartic resolution.
Yeah, because that's what happens with a lot of cold cases. I mean, hell, there were some killers never even caught.
Zodiac,
they might be
the
dead
most
today.
Famous one.
They might be alive. Yeah, exactly. Zodiac. And there's shit happening right now that we don't even know about.
Oh yeah,
which is even scarier.
There's in the movie, I can't remember the exact number. But
it's like 25 to 50 active serial killers in the U.S. at one time.
I think it's actually higher. The number is actually higher, and that's legit. There is always an active serial killer. There's never been a non-active situation. It's just that stuff's not made public because it would scare everyone, and everybody'd be up in a tizzy.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing too, is that like I'm already, I don't know why, but like recently I've gotten more and more and more paranoid because like, I mean, really, like everybody, they could because like, going into a college campus and, being by yourself with all these adult strangers, it's like, you don't know who the fuck these people are. And it's like, it's kind of like, I mean, shit, there was literally a college, the famous cannibal, Japanese cannibal who was going to college and killed his female roommate and ate parts of her. Like, they were college students, and like, there could be a college student who is a murderer, who is a rapist, who is a pedophile. It's like you don't know, and it's like
especially in the Greek life, there's so many rapes that go unreported.
Oh yeah.
And it's absolutely disgusting, and it's just like recently I've talked about this, as like I keep finding it harder and harder for me to like connect and make friends with people because like I'm kind of paranoid. I'm like I'm kind of afraid. Like I don't know who these people are, and I don't know. I don't know if I want to because they could be a monster.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things the film does successfully in tackling that sort of feeling.
Because I mean the serial killer himself, he doesn't necessarily have morals, but there's parts in the movie where he'll be like, specifically one part at the closer to the end when he's in a unmarked police car. And he's wearing like essentially like a uniform, but there's like no markings on it. And he picks up a woman, and the woman calls him an officer, and says thank you and stuff. And he's like, why'd you call me officer? And she's like, because that's what police like to be called. And he's like, I never said I was police. And
yeah. That was horrifying. That was probably
that was horrifying.
That
was terrifying because that. Shit like that actually happens. There will actually be unmarked cars, police cars, or cars with like sirens, or they're guys impersonating police officers.
You can buy LEDs that flash blue and red. It's not illegal to buy them.
Because I remember hearing a while ago like that was happening. That some person was impersonating a cop and killing people. stopping their cars and killing them.
There's big
Ted-
serial killers that do that.
Ted Bundy did it.
Fuck yeah! Hell, Ted Bundy was even in the movie. And it was an actor, but like he was in the movie, which I also thought was interesting too. Was like, because that is something investigators, detectives will do is they'll actually go to other like criminals, killers, or rapists and be like asking like how they do stuff, and that actually can apply to a lot of other killers. Like he was like this. Ted Bundy was like. He was like, I bet you he's doing something to the bodies. Go back. Go, when there's a fresh body, go back to it, or whatever he said. And that turns out that he was going back to the bodies and having sex with them. Fucked up.
Yeah.
Even though it's it's fictional, but I mean necrophilia does happen.
I mean, I've listened to so much true crime. I've heard this happen so many times. I can't even name specifics. Green River Killer was one of them, I think.
Once again, Ted Bundy.
There's a lot.
Jeffrey Dahmer, he liked to have sex with corpses, I think.
Yeah, he did.
He wanted to make a living corpse.
He wanted a zombie, pretty much.
God.
Yeah.
the real villain of that story was racism and homophobia.
Oh hell yeah.
That's a story for another day. Pat, what did you think about this movie? Because I know you have very different opinions about it.
Yeah, because I will say, to me, there's so much pulled from real life that I could identify in the movie that on a conceptual level terrified me. But the movie itself in no way elicited any sort of fear or anxiety, except for a small moment when the killer is in his main victim's house and he's filming, and the part that really got me when her boyfriend's doing dishes and it like cuts on and like bam, there he is behind it. It's more of a jump scare.
Yes.
And that's the best sequence in the movie, because holy shit is it terrifying.
Because I feel like that's the strongest portion of the film. And like for me, like to me this movie just wasn't successful in what it was trying to do. Because like I said, there's like I've listened to enough true crime to know that like yes, serial killers, they do catalog their crimes. They do sort of have this very self-aggrandizing. They are very like big stupid dorks. Because, like, him wearing, like, the plague mask and the party-seated cape and being, like, there's just this adolescent edge to their antics on top of their crimes is very true to life. But for me, how it came across the movie, it all just felt kind of hokey and silly. And personally, I wasn't a fan of how they portrayed the found footage, because for me, if they sort of played it similarly to another film we'll discuss, or to make the film actually feel like old VCR video cassette recordings, it would feel more genuine than them kind of like post-production putting like artifacts and stuff over the actual footage. And just like, I just, like I said, I was more scared on like a conceptual level. Like to me, if this movie was made in a different capacity by someone else, it could be much more potent. Because to me, there's a lot that's really strong and compelling here. It just personally, it didn't land with this sort of production. And there's a bunch of silly moments, like him acting like a fucking edgelord with a cape and mask. And like one bit I thought was just so dumb was like when he kidnaps the second lady in the police car and he fucking walks in spider backwards with a mask on his face and 6 needles in her throat. It's like, I guess, because to me, like him pretending to be a cop and like slowly revealing who he was, that was like in concept more scary than whatever the fuck that bullshit was.
Yeah.
Then like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I see that more so as like going to the fact that, like we were talking about earlier, these serial killers, they do what they do for certain reasons, and it seems like this one was doing it just so he could film it do these weird things. That's why I found you said it was cheesy and funny, but where he's crawling and he stabs the woman in the throat with the needles, I found that insane, pretty scary because I can see that happening in real life because his whole thing is I want to act out these weird scenes, these movies, these ideas that I have.
Yeah.
No, and I understand. I understood that completely. It's just for whatever reason that just didn't land. Like I can understand. Like his whole gimmick is that he's theatrical. He purposely wants to show himself doing these things and have it be seen. It's just and for his own sort of like psychosexual purposes. Like I understand all that. It's just any other way to say it just didn't work for me. But and plus like another. I just thought it was funny when, like, you see when they first get to the guy's home, it's like, oh, there's a box full of cassettes, so he recorded all his crimes. And then they had go to the FBI warehouse. These are his tapes, and then it's just like 20 feet of VHS. I'm like, okay, all right. And to me, I just thought it was. There, like I said, there's so much that's grounded in reality that they could pull from real life, maybe even literally, like about him taunting the mother or him just like. Slow degradation of this person's life for his own twisted affairs, but like to me, just the level of competency he shows from like first kill to second is like a kindergarten to like 11th grade, and then by the end he's Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, like because one thing I was talking to Pat about after we finished it was like. I don't know how much of this movie I enjoy just on a conceptual level or how well it actually works. Because there is a point in the movie where even like where I was pretty engaged throughout a lot of it. But there is a point where he does become like fucking Hannibal, like a movie serial killer. And that is incongruous with the entirety of what led up to before that.
The more grounded stuff is really jarring when you get to like, oh, he's so good he can make himself look like he's a novice killer, like and puts just the level of like reverence almost that the police and the investigators seems like he is so smart and he is so fucked up we can't possibly figure it out. Like it kind of feels like okay, like.
It to me it sets like because especially at the beginning of the movie where they're like, oh my god, this guy's so fucked up, like you can't live up to that premise as hard as they go in like building up of how fucked up this guy is.
I mean, I kind of feel like they did with the whole cut a decapitated head from another person inside the stomach of another person.
Yeah, literally that beginning part was. He literally performed a cesarean on a woman, and then he cut off her husband's head and put the head in her stomach and then sewed it back up, which was like pretty goddamn fucked up.
That's kind of peak for me. I don't know about you guys.
But then also with the police talking about how fucked up he was, I mean that's pretty on par because like when they're talking about these serial killers, especially with this one, I mean, you know. For him to have all these cassettes or these tapes and stuff, and for that to be like kind of ridiculous, I mean, it's completely plausible. Like there could be a fucker out there doing shit, and he has like a ton of tapes, and like he could be really fucking good at what he does, and like that's also scary too.
Yeah,
like
the thing that broke my suspension of disbelief though was the whole situation with the cop he frames.
Yeah,
like there's so many.
But
pieces.
See, that's totally possible though. That was kind of cool how they did that.
I would say
Yeah, because you could totally break into a fertility facility, grab some guy's semen, and plant it.
But there's like a lot of factors that have to go right, and the movie kind of implies, if you read it a certain way, that he was like clairvoyant about 9/11.
I don't really get that.
Because at a certain point in the film they realize that they tried and executed an innocent man for the killer's crimes, and the reason why it wasn't pursued further as a misuse of justice because like literally that same week 9/11 happened and it just kind of fell off the map.
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of how news happens though. Like
I mean
that's
that is real. That does happen.
I totally get that, but like the movie because they make him out to be such just like Hannibal Lecter level genius, it almost implies that he had some level of clairvoyance that 9/11 was going to happen, and the whole thing was getting swept under the rug.
I know they're very prolific and I guess very intelligent serial killers, but he just after a certain while it just felt over the top, and it kind of felt like I know a lot of this is pulled from real life, but it just felt really kind of silly after a point.
Yeah, well, and my big thing with the thing with the cop was, the thing is, the cop was like basically like I don't know how he would have known or have access to the information that this guy was like the perfect guy he could pin it on. Like just the level of access he would have to have for certain levels of information.
That means
it just broke my suspension of disbelief.
That means, like, for me as a person watching it, that makes me think, okay, so maybe this is someone that's actually closer to the investigation than people really think. So he has probably a better access to the files and records and information like that, I guess.
Yeah, because they said they don't know who this guy is. Because there was that part in there where
But
that
I
guy
feel
was
like-
naming
like-
off of.
Because they eventually find his house, and I feel like if he was affiliated with like the FBI or some sort of government agency or the police, they would have known. They would have at least known an alias, you know, but they just don't know.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
But they don't. He's like a complete enigma. And while I like the concept of them not finding him, like especially thematically, I like where that goes, and it does lead to the whole. That's what's terrifying to me is like there is this guy who's just out there who is capable of like doing this horrible shit, and even the police can't get to him. It's just like there were some parts of the story that really bent and broke my suspension of disbelief.
I mean, yeah, that's fair, but like, you know, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, how did the landlord not know her tenant either? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
because
fake
like,
name.
because they bring it up. Like they interview, like she's one of the first people they show an interview of, and then they never go back to her the rest of the movie, because she's like, oh, he was one of the worst tenants I ever had, and it's like, well, why? And that
Yeah,
was never
well, like,
explored.
Well, she says like what, like this tenant turned out to be my worst tenant ever because of what he was doing. Like that, like I think
Yeah.
that that's what she was saying. Like implied that like after the fact, she was like, oh my god, he's a terrible tenant because he was fucking killing people and burying their bodies in the yard and doing stuff in the house.
Also,
Yeah, I
even
mean,
if they
you know.
didn't have many interactions, I feel like there's certain types of people that when they get the chance to, they're gonna take their chance to get on television. So, like, they'll just say, oh, yeah, he was terrible. He did this, that, or stuff like that.
I mean that's true, but like,
And plus, like, I guess to their defense, like, listen to certain true crime shows where, like, someone's doing, like, their awful crimes in a hotel room or an apartment, and, like, the landlord tenant's like, yeah, there's, like, all this weird fucked up shit that was happening that we thought was strange, but, like, nobody really comments on it. Nobody, like, really talks about it. Because that has happened, like, you know, reality is stranger than fiction, that where, like, literal bad things can be happening right next door, like sounds, screams, smells, and people just like, well, someone should do something about that, or that's weird, and that's all further as it goes.
or like in the Jeffrey Dahmer case, where like literally the cops were just like racist and homophobic because he was in a predominantly black area of the town,
And, like, literally all the black tenants were like, hey, this guy's fucked up, do something about it.
and they were like, he's fine. You know, he's only drilling a hole in this Filipino boy's head.
Yeah,
And
and
pouring
plus,
bleach in him.
gay people are icky to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, I guess my final stance is for me, there's a lot that's very strong on a concept level. Just this particular film just didn't work for me. But I'm not taking away from anybody that did enjoy it, because there's a lot that's rooted in reality, and that is very terrifying. Just the scope and the scale that some killers have been prolific in, and I feel like, to a certain extent, this does emulate that, and I think it successfully, at least on paper.
Yeah, like for me, it's like the more realistic bits of this movie were the things that were most scary, and I think having that juxtaposed with the more Hannibal Lecter-y bits, to me, those two concepts seem a little incongruous, because there's one is like the movie conception of what a serial killer is, and then one's the reality, and in many cases those are completely incompatible. But yeah, that was the Poughkeepsie Tapes.
Oh yeah,
Right.
I wouldn't. It's a hard movie to recommend because it's definitely not for everyone. Even if you say you're a horror fan, it's got some pretty different stuff in it when it comes to horror.
it's not your typical horror movie.
I was also going to talk about Cheryl Dempsey because that shit scared me.
Yeah. Like, how could we forget that part of the movie?
Because literally at the end, like, don't get me, like, everything with Cheryl Dempsey, like, when he put the mask on her and, like, everything that was going on, that was terrifying. But then at the very end, when, like, you know, she survived and, like, they're talking to her for an interview, it was just very, like,
sad,
sad, harrowing.
Yeah.
Because like she kept asking, "What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say?" And like that was a good performance because like she had been abused and manipulated into like she can only she has to be submissive. And then like when she lifts up her what used to be her hand because it's just her arm because she doesn't have a hand anymore because constantly re-injuring herself, her bones not being able to heal, they had to amputate it. That got, I was like, oh fuck, like that's, man, she already looked like just, awful. Like whoever did the makeup and stuff for that and the effects did great. Man, that was definitely like, oof.
I'd say,
and I think the thing that got to me was, like you said, her not being able to have a thought of her own. She had to constantly refer to somebody else.
Yeah.
and then like when she eventually just kills herself, the guy fucking just like rips her body out of the ground and continues to terrorize the people.
Yeah, and that's also the thing too, is like, okay, I that's also where something like drops off for me, is that like, like you said, he's like this Hannibal Lecter genius serial killer, and then there's like 27 tapes missing, and there's no sequel or anything in sight for it. It's like, if they would have continued on with the story, that would have been kind of interesting. Did anybody watch the post-credit scene, by the way?
There was a post-credit scene?
No. I mean, there was, but I haven't seen it.
No, I didn't see it. What was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's the camera's on, it's his shitty camera. There's a woman staring into it. She has a gag over her mouth, and it's just the killer saying, if you don't blink, I'll let you live. And then it's just her like muffledly like trying to keep her eyes open, but then also like it's like screaming and stuff, and then that's just how it ends. That was it. I knew there was a post-credit scene because I thought I never saw this movie, but at some point I think I did, but I just forgot. But something told me like wait until the end, and I saw that, and I don't know what it's there for, other than like
just to show he's still active.
He's still out there. He's still active. But then if that's part, see, like Pat said, they put artifacts in the movie that I'm like, that's kind of dumb. Make it true to documentary style. And then they add that in there, and it's just like, okay, is that part, it's more a part of the movie itself than the actual documentary part of the movie. But like, I don't know. I thought it would have been kind of more interesting because the guy, the investigator who was like watching the tapes, he was like, why are there 27 tapes missing? Do they reveal his face? Did he not want people to see them or something? I thought it would have been kind of interesting if you got a closer shot of her eyes and like you could see his face in her eyes, and that would have revealed who he was. I thought that would have been kind of interesting, but that's not in there. So, but that's the post-credit scene.
Yeah, that now that you explain that, yeah, that kind of breaks up the the diegesis of the movie.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
I don't know what a diegesis is.
It's the concept of what's in the movie and what's out of the movie. So something that's diegetic is something in the movie like example of something that's non-diegetic is an external score.
All right.
Okay.
All right. And moving on to our third film, and that is 2010's Troll Hunter, directed by, forgive me if I mispronounce this Norwegian name, Andre Overdahl, perhaps.
Okay.
And this was a movie that was recommended by Liz. It's one of her favorite films. And this film sees a small group of college students going on a film trek to like sort of for this project, and they get roped into this very harrowing journey where monsters may actually be real. And now, before we get started, had anyone seen this film prior to this episode?
No, I just had
I
Wenzel
have.
recommend it to me for years.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I was gonna originally recommend this before my recommendation because I know nobody saw it, but then Liz recommended it, so I was like, okay.
And this is a movie, like we said, it's one of her favorites. She's been recommending this one to us for years, and I was really excited to finally get to it. And we will say, like, this is the least grounded of all the movies, but
For obvious reasons.
But it was still a fun movie to watch because, and plus, like, it's just gorgeous to watch because it's set in Norway, and you just see all the sweeping landscapes, the fjords,
All the fjords.
fjord, and like
Fjord.
fjord, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Can we see the main kids that get? No, they're going along with the documentary, and they run across this like mysterious older man who keeps popping up, and you see like a lot of like property destruction, and animal deaths, and like sort of large scale like rural destruction. They're all pinned in these bears, but it's kind of incongruent with the fact because like one bear can't do this much damage, and
And the tracks are real weird.
And like you have all these like bear hunters who are like, yeah, like bears are very protected in this part of the world. Like they're all pretty much known, and like at least approximately where they go and how many they are. And it's like this doesn't add up. And then they have like a wildlife management agent who's like, yeah, it was just the bears. They're going rogue, and like that really conflicts with the people who are there, like who know the woods. They're like something's not right. This is outside of what a bear normally does. So like the kids are sort of following this plot, and then they notice like this guy kind of appearing in the same location. This like this older grizzled man who like drives this like beat down car. It's got like claw marks in it.
It's like this like off-road Jeep type vehicle.
And so they're wondering like how he's coming and going, like what's his story, and eventually they're able to find out that he's sort of involved with this to what extent they don't know yet. They just realize he's always there, or he's like on the trail of whatever these things are, because like there's just a trail of destruction in very isolated places, but they all kind of fall in a certain path. And then they basically they stalk him. They like track him down. They follow him across the fjords and across the sea.
Fjord.
And they follow him out deep into the woods. And he's like, okay, we finally got this guy. He's rebuffed us at every turn, but we're going to get him because he's out in the woods. He's got nowhere else to run. And so they go out in the woods and they hear like noises and like fighting. And you see like these bright flashes of light. And it's like, what's up with this? And then the old man runs out and he's just real troll. They all run away. and they get back in his car. It's like, what are you kids doing? Leave me alone. It's like, well, what the hell was that? Troll, old man? What's up? And it's like, yeah, okay, trolls are real, and they're fucking up the countryside. And it's my job to hunt them down to make sure they don't continue to screw things over for the people that live there.
And then they like get back to their car, and their car is just like all fucked up and shit.
Like the tires are ripped off, and it's covered in like goo, troll goo.
And then the whatchamacallit, the main guy gets like slashed or bitten, and that will be important for later on.
Yeah.
And so, like, they formed this uneasy alliance with the old man who's named Hans, and he's like, okay, if you do exactly as I say, I'll be part of your documentary. So they follow him along and just they're going to all these different locales, and their first sort of job together is that he has to go find something called a tosselad, which is like a type of troll. And they go out in the woods and they find this giant 3-headed troll, and they're like chasing them out through the woods. They get separated, and then the old man they were able to circumvent the troll and get him back to their car, but he hits it with a giant UV spotlight, turns the dude to stone, turns the monster to stone, and then he smashes it to bits. Because like even though these are like living, breathing monsters, they still have these folkloric elements about it as part of their physiology. Like the trolls, if they're exposed to sunlight at a certain age, they turn to stone. If they're a younger troll, they just explode.
Yeah, they fucking explode.
Just look like gibs everywhere, like blobs and guts everywhere. But also, like, the whole rhyme, I fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of a Christian man, or Englishman as it was turned into, is a real bit, too, because the old man's like, if any of you believe in God or Jesus, that's going to be a real big problem for us. Because apparently they can actively sense or disdain Christian. It's like... how or why, who knows? But like that's a key.
I don't know, but it's
part
a
of the troll.
Yeah, and it makes me empathize with the trolls. It's like, yeah, I get it.
Because like there's a bit where they're on to the second troll, which is a what they say. What was this name? The type of the, because there's like 3 or 4 types of troll. They all have like very Nordic names. Was it the fuck? It's like the
Tunger Bungle
finch.
Yeah, because there are 2 main types of trolls, and then there's like there's different subtypes of each type of troll.
Yeah, like kind of like with real animals. There's like the larger phylum or family they fall into, and they split off in there, but like they're largely grouped. And so the second troll is more like rock hewn and monstrous. So there's a bit where they're trying to lure him to a bridge, but like he's not taking the goat bait. So like. Somehow the troll hunter's like, yeah, I got this bucket of blood from a Christian man, and he just dumps it on the bridge, and that gets the troll all riled up.
And he has this like giant ass fucking syringe,
and like a bear suit kind of gimmick too.
Yeah,
it was so okay. That scene was so freaking good because I remember watching that and like. He just walks up with that suit and he's just like, God, I hate this crap. And I lose my shit because it's such a good, like, going about business.
Mondays.
Yeah,
and
it's
and
so,
then for some reason,
so mundane.
And for some reason, he doesn't die. Like, because he literally gets that syringe, puts it in him, and then punches him. He looks dead. The troll tries to eat him, can't because he's in a metal suit, and then just, throws him away. Like,
I don't know about you guys,
I thought the
but
motherfucker was
I'd
dead.
Die.
I thought that motherfucker died.
Yeah, like because he
had to at least have some broken ribs.
Because like the dude's like being generous, like mid-50s, probably like pushing 60, and like he's fucking with these trolls, but like he's very like haggard and like. Wizened. It's just like I've been hunting these trolls for damn near, I don't know, we're gonna say 40 years, because like apparently he's the only motherfucker in this country who like keeps this shit in check.
Even though he's employed by the government to do this, like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they're just like even though there's a bunch of trolls, we only need one guy to blow them up if they get too rowdy. But, like, that's beside the point. Like, the movie's just fun.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, all the trolls look really cool. Like, it may feel, like, a little jarring when you see, like, this giant monster, but they have, like, big honking, like, cartoon noses. But, like, there's just how they interact with them and how they sort of play in the folkloric parts. It's kind of fun. Like, the third mission they have, and they go off in the mountain to meet, like, this, like, tribe of... like mountain trolls are all like big, fat, and hairy, and like they have big noses. I swear one of them farted.
Oh yeah, they did.
because they get stuck in a cave because like they're in the cave looking for him, and then like all the trolls come back home to roost, and like we got to hide out, and then Swerve turns out the reason why they had so much trouble the first time is that their camera guy was secretly a Christian and he didn't tell anybody, and then he gets gobbled up at the end of that mission.
Yeah, he gets fucking ripped.
So, but like,
Yeah.
it was just really sort of bizarre, like how that worked. And the girl that gets to replace him is like, "Hey, do you believe in God?" It's like, "Yeah, but I'm a Muslim." So it's like different faiths doesn't count to trolls or something.
No,
Yeah,
like
it's specifically Christianity.
the troll hunter himself.
Yeah.
He's like, they were like, "Is that a problem?" And then he's like, "Actually, I have no clue." Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know how that's gonna work, which I think is great. Yeah, I remember watching this and like the whole Christian like blood bit. I was like, it's silly, but like for some reason for me it just had me enthralled. I was like, Christian blood, you got to be careful. Gonna get you. And now we get a new team member. She's Muslim, so she'll be good. Like.
Because
I don't
it's just really funny. Like the whole show's a romp. Like it's a lot of fun, and plus like the main dude, like he's cool, but also like he lives this very like hand to mouth life. Like like yeah, I've been doing this for a long time and it doesn't really pay well, but it's just like what I got to do, I guess. It's like he lives in a camper that's filled with like troll slime and snot and stink to keep so the trolls don't know he's there, and because trolls turn to stone under sunlight or UV light, his whole camp's lit with UV light, but also really dangerous. But he says, like, it's okay, I got sunscreen.
Yeah.
Hey, what if he's actually like 25 and just the UV lights just like dried him up?
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe that. Yeah.
And his main weapon, it looks like a Gatling gun, but it just shoots like a beam of like UV light. So he's just shooting this off in bursts, and then like the trolls are like being singed, and it all kind of escalates.
It looks like a railgun.
Yeah, it does.
It escalates up to the crescendo where they go up to like the high mountains of Norway, or like the snow-covered caps, because apparently there's like a big daddy troll out there, the
Jotun.
The Jotnar, the mountain trolls of the Nordic legend, where they're literally in Jotunheim, the part of Norway that's actually called Jotunheim, where the trolls were from in Nordic mythology, which is like also a really cool place to see.
It's beautiful.
So
it's
fucking
gorgeous.
beautiful.
So fucking gorgeous.
So like if you have a chance to get the Blu-ray or rent it, please do, because just like if for nothing else, just seeing this like tour of Norway is amazing.
And then on top of that, it's just a fun fucking movie.
Yeah, for real.
Oh yeah, it's
Because
the least serious of all the ones we've watched today, and I dare I say probably the funnest, maybe the best. Maybe, I don't know.
It's definitely like high on my list. And like the final confrontation with the King Jotun or like the Big Daddy Troll was like really good.
Oh my god, because me and Pat were joking. It was like, oh man, this bitch is gonna pull a Dead or Alive and pull a fucking rocket launcher and shoot this motherfucker. Wouldn't that be something? And then it happens.
Because like the whole way they're whittling it down with like this giant spotlight UV gun that he's like blinking at the troll, and he's like roars and runs away. And then when they finally get him all kind of tired out, old man runs up with his regular little light gun, zaps him a little bit, then fucking hits the UV missile, just like turns into stone and de-shatters.
Fucking crazy, man.
We also joked they should have used like the UV bullets from Underworld.
Oh, yeah.
Just like popping this dude like strafing as he like lights him up.
They literally just need to shoot a circle around the troll so it'll fall through the ground.
Just that straight to the Earth's core where he melts. But the movie kind of ends like on a kind of a bleak note, because the environmental agency sees them and like chases them down, and they just like scoop them up. Like the old man, he walks off on his own to fight the troll, and he just keeps going. And what happens to the rest of them, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
They're locked up in troll jail.
Yeah,
Going to
also
troll jail.
the reason why all the trolls were going crazy is because they had rabies. Thomas, one of the characters, he got bit and was tested. His blood was tested and everything, and that's why got infected and shit because it was troll rabies. And at the very end, when everybody gets scooped up, he's actually able to get the camera out and like runs away with it, and then dies because he's infected. And some guy picks it up, and that's how kind of we got the footage of a troll hunter.
Yeah, this is one of those movies, if you explain the plot to someone, it sounds really fucking stupid. Like, it's a movie about this guy who hunts trolls, and they can smell the blood of Christians, so that's how they fucking detect you. But the reason they're attacking people is because they have fucking rabies. And it can go on, but the way the movie is executed, I don't know, it's just really fucking cool and fun.
Because there's a lot that's silly and in concept, but to me, like it all because of the setting and the plot is already fantastical. When it gets fantastical within that sandbox, nothing feels out of place.
Exactly.
And yeah, it was just that shit crazy film. I still love it. And then it ends with the news clips of the Norwegian Prime Minister saying, "Hey, yeah, trolls exist," and everybody's like, "Whatever."
Yeah, he just says, and trolls exist. On to the next point.
Yeah, like he said it absent-mindedly, and like the
guy sitting beside him just has this like, oh shit look on his face.
Like it's the same guy to keep bumping into who's like really trying to fuck up their plans, but he's there on camera, and when the prime minister just sort of like accidentally drops that, he's like, "Fuck, dude, shit, really? Fucking cameras." But like it's a lot of fun. This is a great movie. This is one of my strongest recommendations from Dispatch.
Oh, same here.
Easiest recommendation because it's a fun little ride.
I recommend it wholeheartedly. It's just so fun. It's so dumb. Not dumb. No, it's dumb. It's not. I don't know. There's also a thing where it would usually be in Norwegian or whatever, but like in the credits it says no trolls were harmed during the making of this movie, and I love that.
That's fun.
All right, and moving on to our next film, we have 2015's Hell House LLC, directed by Stephen Cognetti, and this was my pick for the batch today. For me, I had a bit of a trouble like finding something because I didn't want to pick a movie that was in the genre, but like well known, like Wreck or something, and some of the movies that were highly like acclaimed are actually really hard to stream. So I kind of picked this one because I heard it had some buds with it, and Johnson told me like it gets like this series gets wild, and I kind of wanted to jump on from there. But the concept is a crew is filming their sort of restoration of an abandoned hotel into a haunted house for people to come and visit and get scared. But things go awry throughout the restoration of the house and eventually upon opening night. And
the name...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the name of the hotel is Abaddon. Abaddon Hotel. Red flag.
Yeah, it's a demon. All right.
God, yeah, they're. I'm just going to spoil this right now. This was my least favorite out of them all.
Oh yeah, same for me. But at the same time, I did not like this movie. It was bad in almost every way. But I wanted to watch the second one immediately afterwards. I didn't, but I want to see what the hell's going on here.
Exactly. And from what I hear in the sequels, it gets butt-fuck wild. But, like, yeah, it's... I don't know. We'll get into it, but...
So, like, over the course of the movie, you see these... It opens up with, like, a YouTube footage of the opening night, and you see people going in, and, like, shit starts, like... They're going to the house, and it gets, like, ooh, spooky, and you see, like the actors and the people sort of like running around scared, like something's not right, And then they get to the basement, and then there's like a big traffic jam of people. And then everybody starts freaking out and runs out of the house. And then you see the police come, and you see like this investigation, almost all the crew involved with the production of the house, they were killed or they disappeared. And there's this big hush like gag order about the whole night in general. So this camera crew goes to like, hey, we want to find out about this night and why things went crazy. And they meet the one survivor of it, the girl who's on the team, and she's like obviously like affected, like she's very like sort of monosyllabic and very closed off about it, and she sort of gives them the tapes that they made during the process of making it, because they were going to make a documentary about them restoring this hotel, and then that's the movie of us watching until you get to the end where this camera crew comes back and does their last little bit. And it's about these kids who had a haunted house in New York, and they're sort of, this is their next gig. They're kind of rebounding from what happened with that, and they're going to found this old spooky hotel, this obviously evil spooky hotel where like a dude like abducted people and killed them, and then he killed himself. And so, like as they're building the hotel back up, like spooky shit starts to happen.
Yeah, and there are two parts of this movie. The movie is like 40% spook, like typical spooky shit, and like give the movie credit. Like some of the scares in the movie are pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
like the shit with the clown got me a couple times.
Yeah, that to me
that was pretty good.
That was the spook that actually spooked me, because like they have like all this like haunted house, so they got clowns and monsters, and they're like putting them up and putting them away in their place where they're going to be for the attraction. And there's this one clown that keeps popping up in weird places. Like, okay, I thought it was so and so dressed up, and then like when they go back, it's not there. He's like lurking around. Like there are moments with that clown that legitimately had me spooked. I was more spooked in those few minutes in Hell House than I was in the entirety of Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, I would agree there. But there it's 40% that, and then the other 60% is just the interpersonal drama of these really fucking unlikable and uninteresting characters, and that's where this movie falls apart. Because when it's them arguing about like how the hotel is going to be run and blah blah blah, I could give two shits less.
It's bad when the one character in your cast that has like some substance to him is like a sex pest. Like he's just like really creepy and perverted.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't really look good for the rest of the crew.
Yeah, and then the rest of them are just, well, then you have the one girl, and then the other three are just generic white dudes.
They're just like interchangeable dudes, and they're all kind of fussing and fighting.
Yeah, and I could not like tell a difference between a lot of them half the time.
No, for sure. I kept getting Tony mixed up with Mac.
See, I don't even remember their fucking names.
Tony and Paul were two of the camera guys. Paul was the weird horny guy. And so they even described Paul, one of their camera guys, as being rapey. Like, that's not good. That's not a good thing to be described
are you
as.
hanging
Yeah,
with him?
and then it's like, okay, yeah, he's rapey. Why the fuck are you keeping this dude around?
Is he the only one that knows how to work the camera, or like?
But then
because Tony knows how to work the camera, because they have two guys. They have Paul and Tony. Tony knows how to work camera. He knows how to do tech, and Paul also knows how to do camera, but that's literally all he does, because they even talk about how lazy he is, and he leaves all the time to go drink and party. And like also too, like it's one thing to be promiscuous or like, being like having sex with a whoever, but like it's another thing to be rapey. Like that's not something you want to be marked as.
Yeah, and I mean, and we're not using that word flippantly either. He's very much like Pat said, a sex pest, and doesn't take no for an answer.
Like he's very aggressive. Like he's very pushy whenever there's like that one girl around. He's like, he gets right up close to her whenever he films her. He's like zooms in like real close to her face. He kind of like really interjects himself into like whatever situation.
And then every conversation turns sexual.
So like, but
Yep.
and that's sort of like a falling, that's sort of a falling in the movie. If that's the most prominent thing any one of your characters have, like doesn't look great on you. But like we said, like it just, because I was thinking like after the movie's over, it's like, not a lot happened.
Yeah, because it takes place over like a month and a half of them restoring this hotel. And like, of course, like weird shit happens and there is a crescendo, but it does reach a point to where like I would just cut my fucking loss and leave.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and
Yeah.
it's not like they don't have this shit on tape either, because they do. But like, because the sex pest, he's the one who starts noticing things first, because he's the one with the camera, and no one believes him. But no one has the idea to check the fucking tape where that would prove. Except
That's the
maybe like
thing.
one time they do.
One time, but that's
They did it one time. like it does, yeah, like that's where it also falls off for me, is like there's just really, really, really stupid decisions that are made that, like, okay, it may be a movie and you suspend disbelief, but also like what right-minded person would do that? Like people could probably chalk it up to being like they're being influenced by the hotel. Like no, they were in their right minds. They were just really fucking stupid.
Well, let's just say that gets retconned in the sequels.
Oh, come on!
I shit you not. And that's one of the tamer bits of the sequels, from what I hear. But
oh man,
exactly, and like. And like you said, Wenzel, there's some things you can suspend your disbelief, but like the only other character who has somewhat of any sort of development is probably the main guy, the like leader, because he's the one
Alex.
who's like, because he's the one who's like, no, we got to stay here and finish this, and then by the end he's like turning into fucking Captain Ahab. But like, there's no lead up to that point because there's not a lot of time spent with him up until like the end, because the camera guy doesn't have many interactions with him, and it doesn't warrant the sort of like descent into madness this guy goes at the end of the movie.
Well, that's the thing too, is that like the main camera guy, Paul, the sex pest, he's really just kind of invasive with Alex and his girlfriend, Sarah, the other crew member. He's really invasive with them, and like, okay, and then like they get another crew member, Melissa, and he's like super creepy with her because she's not taken as far as we know. And she's like new, so he's like, oh yeah. So there's even a part in there where like she's nervous and talking to Alex, the team leader, and he just gets in there and is like, hey, hey Melissa, like, how are you? What's going on? What are you nervous about? But then, like you said, like there's not many interactions because Alex also keeps kind of like pushing him out, telling him to go do stuff, which kind of makes sense because he needs to do shit. And then like at some point he's like, he kisses Melissa's hand, which is like really weird. And then he's like, how old are you? And it's like, oh, come on, man. Like, really? Like, shit.
Yeah. It's like, no, like you can tell this was probably written by a man, because no woman in their right mind would think any of that is any sort of sex.
Funny.
Or funny either.
It's...
And like, the girl just kind of like laughs and goes along with it, and it's just like, I don't see that as really realistic.
And then
because it's not like a laughing going on along with it to sort of placate him so he'll go away. It seems like she's like genuinely,
it's like, oh,
captivated by this guy.
It's like, you're so charming with this camera that's 3 inches from my face.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I totally see what you're saying, and I agree. And then also there too, like he keeps mentioning or talking about like, hey, because she has to play the woman who's gonna be chained up. He's like, does she get to be topless? Does she topless? And
do we see her boobs, man?
Like, Jesus, come on.
And this is sort of. Oh no, you go ahead, Wenzel.
No, I was gonna say like he talks about that, and then they were like they wanted a bodyguard down there so that like because she wasn't topless, but she's gonna be kind of naked. She's gonna be in her bra and panties, and have like sort of a shirt, but it's cut open. So they're gonna have a bodyguard down there to.
And even if she wasn't like any sort of in a state of undress, like she was going to be chained up there down like by herself. And they even admit like there's a lot of blind spots in that room as far as the cameras go. So they need someone down there.
Jonathan, she's chained up down there not by herself, but with a clown bodyguard that they got from a 7-Eleven.
Who proves like completely ineffective because once the shit goes down, he just says deuces, I'm out.
Like
fuck y'all.
he was the first one to get the hell out of Dodge.
That's what I'm trying to talk about. Is like. They disguise him as one of the props. So like, okay, that makes sense. He's a big guy, but they got him from a gas station. Okay, that's bad. And then at the very beginning of the movie, you see a guy in a clown's costume running out of the attraction. They're like, "Is that supposed to happen?" And it's him.
with the YouTube footage.
Yeah, what I was going to talk about, though, is that there's a part in there where they're like, okay, we need somebody down there. And then Paul, the sex pest, is like, oh, I'll go down there. He's like, you want to be down there? And he's like, fuck no, you're not going to be down there. And, like, he was super serious. And it's like, okay, if you know he's a fucking pest, why is he still hired?
Yeah, why do you keep him around? And the thing is like, even when he's like trying to mac up on the Melissa chick, like even Alex is like, don't listen to him. He's a rapist. Like, what?
Like, that's not a good joke. That's not a good in-group joke. Who's that like, funny for?
It's like,
other rapists
in your group.
Yeah. And it sounds like we're harping on this a lot, but like, we just want to drill it in, like how like terrible the character writing is that. This is like the most fleshed out character.
So the big wind up it is we see the big wraparound. We see how the live footage of that night syncs up with the YouTube video. Cause that sort of interspace. You see the girl run off to figure out what's going on, and you see like the big this ghost man start trying to attack people, and then like all the guests get out. And so it's just the people left. And I think at this point, there's like the girl, her, and one other guy, like, because
one of the more generic white dudes.
Yeah, the one who's like, he's not problematic, but he's just kind of there. Because they run upstairs and see her boyfriend getting lynched by like the ghost cult people. They run back downstairs, and then I think Paul shows back up because he disappears after a ghost woman pops up in his room, which is one of the few actually spooky moments.
Yeah, because he keeps like peeking from under the covers and back. He does it like 3 times, and each time it's sort of like a weeping angel from Doctor Who. It just is in a different place, and it's like, fuck, that was genuinely creepy.
Then the last second she's right next to him, and then like, he gets possessed or whatever, and then. I think one guy, the last guy gets killed. I think Paul beats the main girl over the head, and then she gets dragged off by the ghost, and then he cuts his own throat with a piece of glass or something, right?
No, that's at the very end when the documentary crew go back to the hotel.
Well, no, because like...
No, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tells you how much I remember this fucking movie.
Because that's the end of their footage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Sarah has, for some reason, she picks up a camera and she's walking, and then she sees one of the hooded cloak guys, and she's like scared, and then she gets to the end, she gets to the door, the exit, and Paul's there, and then Paul grabs the camera from her and proceeds to bash her head in, but she's still alive barely, and she gets dragged off, and like Pat said, he cuts his own throat with a glass. I'm trying to think. Everybody. Alex hangs himself.
Or he gets hung.
He gets hung. Mac, don't know what happened to Mac, because literally he's up there, and then all the people in the black cloaks surround him, and he just disappears. He's just gone.
Yeah, and then there's like another guy too. Don't know what happens to him, but he's dead.
There's 5
Tony,
people. They all end up dead except for the girl, or like.
And the clown man.
Tony. What?
And the clown bodyguard man, he just ran outside.
Well, that's the thing that's ridiculous about that is that well, technically him and the tour guide are still alive. Because they had 3 people. They had Joey, Melissa, and the tour guide lady. She stays outside the hotel bringing people in. She went somewhere. Joey, the clown bodyguard, he fucking runs out, goes home probably, never talks about this ever again.
Don't they mention at one point that the clown bodyguard kills himself?
Yeah, because like he was like kind of a heavyset guy. And
He hangs himself. You're right.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah. There's a part in there where they tried to talk to him, but they couldn't, and he ends up hanging himself a few days later. That's right. I forgot about that.
Okay. All right.
And so, like, their cuts back to the crew and the girl. It's just like, hey, I'm feeling a little tired. I've been talking about this fucked up bullshit for a while. Can I go home? It's like, yeah, we'll meet back up with you. She's like, yeah, come see me in room 2C. And then, like, okay. And then, like, 2 of the film crew go to meet her. It's like, to the hotel. It's like, we need to see the girl in room 2C. It's like, yeah, we don't have a room 2C in this hotel. And it's like, that's strange. And then they get curious and just decide to go check out the evil hotel. And they break in, and the main documentary woman, she's like way too eager to go checking out all this blood-stained like house. And then they fuck around some more, and they find out there's a room in the old hotel, room 2C. And it's like, okay, they open the door and you see the main girl, she's sitting in there. And it's like, hey, girl, are you okay? What's up? And all of a sudden the fucking cult ghosts come out, and then they just spirit away the crew, and that's how the movie ends.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, when Sarah reveals her face, she's dead. You know, she died. The entire time they were talking to a ghost, a demon, I don't know. See, that's where I thought this is where it was really stupid, because, like, okay, if this is supposed to be a documentary style film, how the fuck does anybody have this footage?
Well, there was one guy that didn't go with them. There was 3 people on the new...
I know, Mitchell. But the thing is how did Mitchell
how did they get that camera? Did they go back into the hotel?
Yeah, did Mitchell... Because Mitchell tried calling her because he saw the footage of Sarah dying and Paul killing himself. That's why he was calling her, because she was like, I'll call Mitchell back later. And she, declines the call. And then, like, so he doesn't know what's going on. Like, and they're just gone, and he somehow gets back there and gets the footage and decides to play it over for us to see. Like,
I
okay,
mean,
thanks.
Maybe... one of their spirits gave the footage to them, and then they disappeared forever.
I mean, maybe
because that's
true.
how the woman, the main woman in the group, gave the footage to them in the first place.
God damn it, you're right. Sarah, she was dead the entire time, and she gave him all that footage. That's true.
Like a garbage sack full of videotapes.
Yeah.
So,
it's almost like
I will say the only character. Sorry, I was going to say the only character I had any sort of interest in, who I think did a fantastic job of acting, was the guy who played Tony, Jared Hacker. He there's a part in the movie where everything that's bad is happening, and then Paul for some reason isn't responding or doing anything. He's just possessed, doing nothing. Nobody takes him to a doctor, and Tony's pissed. He's like, what the fuck? Why aren't we doing anything? Why are we still here? He's getting really mad. It's a really good performance, in my opinion. And then he storms out. And then, for some reason, Mac is like, you can't leave, man. He's like, why? And then there's, like, artifacts and stuff, footage. And then they're in a really beautiful field during sunset. And he's just like, Tony's like, yeah, Mac's right. I can't leave. And then Mac comes into camera, and he's like, they're talking, and they never explain why he can't leave and what's wrong. I assume.
And then on top of that, the Mac guy, like the scene before saw the biggest shit up until that point, because him, Paul, and Sarah go into the basement and have to deal with the fucking like possessed dummies. But he's like, nah, man, you got to stay. There's nothing going on.
Well, when I looked it up because I was curious, I was looking up Reddit to see like what people thought about that. Apparently, it was supposed to be, or might have been, a financial issue that Alex their company has no money whatsoever, and that for them to cover any of their losses and everything, they have to do this, or else nobody gets any money whatsoever. So like
that was my thinking. It's like they're
Yeah.
just a big like financial sink that they had in it, and it's just like their make or break thing. Like that's other than just kind of like the plot wouldn't happen if they didn't say
Yeah.
something like that's like the justification in story. Like they have everything riding on this Halloween attraction, and that's why they're sticking around. So like I understood that. I just felt a little bad that my movie wasn't really that interesting. I kind of picked it blindly, but like I said, going into it, this when I was reading had a fair amount of acclaim. Like this, for some people, this was like one of their stronger opinions for found footage.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say, Pat, you shouldn't feel bad because
don't feel bad.
even though I didn't like this movie really, I still enjoyed my time with it, and I want to watch
same
the
here.
rest of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
'cause
too.
like
I
Colt's-
still had fun.
Yeah, because like Colt said, like after it was over, I kind of wanted to watch the other ones.
And like you said, like I want to see how butt crazy this series supposedly gets, because there's 2 more.
I think they're working on a
Yeah.
4th one too. I'm not sure.
Oh shit!
I
Yeah,
don't
what's
know.
the
I think
deep
it's
lore to Abaddon Hotel?
Oh, it gets deep.
I think it's supposed to be just a trilogy because the third, I know for a fact because I follow a guy who's like really into found footage. I wish I could say his name. I feel so bad. I know his name's Fred or Freddie.
Get off
I
Fred.
follow. I
His
recently
name is
started
Freddie
following
Footage.
him because I started watching found footage and he saw that and he's like, hey, check out all these other found footage films. And I think he was the one that was like, Hell House is like really good. And don't get me wrong, it was fun, but not the best. And yeah, and he watched the whole trilogy, and the third film is supposed to end it off, completely. It's that shit. You're right. Fuck. Yeah, don't feel bad. It was still a good time.
Well, I'm glad you all enjoyed yourselves despite the dubious quality of the film. And I think that's a great time to move on to our final film of the episode, and that is 2005's Noroi the Curse, directed by Koji Shiraishi. Now, Wenzel, this was your pick. Tell us what made you want to choose this film and get us started on it.
All right. Well, earlier back in September, I was like, I'm going to start spooky season early. I'm going to watch some spooky movies. That, like I was mentioning before, I just started off watching some found footage films because, like, for me, it's kind of like a guilty pleasure, but also I'm not really guilty. I feel completely fine with it. And this was, Colt saw it. He told me that it's great. I've seen it everywhere. People talked about how good it is. I was like, okay, I'm going right into this. This seems good. And I mean, I'll say I loved it, and that's why I definitely had it on our recommendations for watching this. It's essentially a documentary within a show within a movie. The film has this guy. His name is Kobayashi. He's like a paranormal researcher, and he's trying to make a documentary called The Curse. And
That's what
there's
Noroi means.
there's just what Noroi means, and he has a bunch of tapes and footage, and this show that kind of like goes into mysteries and ghosts and like the odds and ends or the odds weird stuff within the world. They're the one that kind of like are doing essentially this documentary show about this documentary because the contents of it are what's interesting. And so they get a hold of this footage because they just they get it, they're able to get it from their from I think the cameraman. I can't remember. I've watched it twice and I still don't really remember how.
They say the movie you're about to see is a rough cut of the footage Kobayashi compiled together.
Yeah.
Like he had
because,
just finished it before his eventual fate.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. But yeah, and then it just kind of takes from there of him trying to figure out what's going on with some weird shit called Noroi, some kind of curse. I don't know.
And for me, this was probably the most effective film, personally, because it had exactly the type of aesthetic I was looking for, where it looked like an actual VHS, tape recording. It had like that genuine old tape look, and it wasn't like any funny like post effects on it, because it's an older film. It's on the early mid 2000s, so that in itself wins it to the strength of it. And like, it's, even though it's about this supernatural story, the way the build up to it, to me, like, feels really good. And like, I feel like I was the most like engaged and invested of all the films with this one.
Oh, same here. And there was, I know, like, early on, probably like the first like 20 minutes, because I think it's probably the longest one we watched. I know it kind of felt a little meandery, and I was like, okay, where is this going? But then once it hits its stride, it doesn't stop, and it becomes one of the more compelling watches I've seen in a while.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to found footage.
Yeah, that was something me and Colt talked about extensively about it, was that like it kind of hits that huge mark of like VHS tape J-horror, early 2000 J-horror, maybe you going into 90s, PlayStation 2 J-horror games. It just also really hit that, like, kind of like that nostalgia, I guess.
It also hits the perfect time frame for horror for me in Japan. It's like the early 2000s aesthetic. Everything is, it's set in it's recorded in 2000s, so it's gonna, of course, have everything from that time frame, and it hits all the good parts of my brain. It's my brain G spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was definitely a boom of J-horror in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Oh, yeah. And this was just fantastic. I don't know. Like, the more I think about it, the more I like it, but I can't go beyond my current rating for it. Very good. I
think we all gave it the same score.
Yeah,
right?
We did.
Unanimously a 4 across the board.
Yeah, I think, I guess part of, like, if, and this is being nitpicky, so the only sort of issues I have is I feel like it did explain a little too much towards the end about what's going on. And a lot of times when movies do that, like, that's when the tension is released, because you kind of know what you're dealing with. It was kind of the problem I had with the movie Us by Jordan Peele. But yeah, like, other than that, it's like this really great steady progression, and of the movies has like really good compelling characters.
Yeah, like the cast is pretty small, and like the way, like this, the way everything's interlinked feels very like tight. And then when certain aspects, because I feel like it's a little funny how we're tight-lipped about this one versus we're just putting it all out for the rest, because like of all the rest, we kind of want you to go into it and really see it, really experience it.
Yeah, and of them all, I think this one's very dependent on you not knowing what's going on.
Yeah,
well,
because at least with the other ones, I feel like you maybe not Troll Hunter, but that's like a completely different type of movie. A lot of the other ones, you eventually know where it's going. With this one, I had no idea where it was going the entire time.
Like there definitely like at least a few moments where I was like, "Oh shit!" Like a surprise happens. Like I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. No, like for sure.
And there's a lot of stuff that gets set up really early on that, like within like the first like 5 minutes, that comes back towards the end.
Okay, I have to say it, but like, okay, I'm trying to think. Okay, I know they said they're being tight-lipped. I don't want to be tight-lipped because there's just some stuff I have to talk about. So right now, I'm going to say spoiler. don't listen to what I'm about to say. Go watch the fucking movie and come back. But like he was saying though, there's some
spoiler zone.
Yeah,
Go
this
ahead.
is spoiler zone. Like he was saying that stuff was like kind of early, like that. Like that's what I loved about this. The piecing stuff together is so good. But there's a part in there where we have this little girl named Kana, and she's like on this kind of like game show. It's not a game show, but it's like a show where they're like trying to test out. Variety show, yeah. And
it's like the Japanese version of Psychic Kids.
Well,
yeah.
The format is more like they have like current guest people kind of like do these like fun random things, and then like you said, there's a bit where we're testing the psychic ability of these children, and that's how we introduce to like I guess the impetus of the plot is the disappearance of this girl named Kana.
Yeah, and that's the thing though that really got me got me chills is that there's a part in there where they have her doing like, you know, what's written on the piece of paper, and then she's able to get everyone right. But at the very end, she does a drawing of a face, and it's like, that's interesting. That'd be really creepy if that was a face in their piece of paper. No, the piece of paper had 3BE3, some mathematical symbol, and A, and it was like they were like, okay, maybe she's tired, maybe she's getting it right, and like that for me was just chilling because like, no, that's Kagutaba. That's Kagutaba. That's Kagutaba.
Yeah.
And like you know, you say you're right. I think that's where it kind of falls off for me too, is that they probably explain too much, and I think they should have kept it more ambiguous. And in my headcanon, it is because they kind of, again, spoiler, they kind of say that like Kagutaba is like this demon, but that was what was interesting about it was like they weren't too specific because they say Kagutaba.
Sorry, they literally said that that the demon is just what they call it. They didn't have another word for it. Because that's like for me, I didn't really feel like they gave too much away. They didn't overplay their hand. Like I feel like I got just enough because I feel like there's still some mysteries in the movie, like the little boy, like who or what he is, where he came from.
I think probably for me it was just kind of. Maybe I kind of explained it wrong. I think like especially like some more of the ritual stuff, and when it gets to the village that was submerged by the dam, like a lot of the ritual stuff felt kind of goofy to me, and kind of took me out. But like I said, that's being really fucking nitpicky.
Well, that's what I was talking about too, like was the ritual stuff, because that's kind of like that kind of like gives a way of like, yeah, okay, this is how you kind of get rid of it, sort of, which is not what happens at the end. Spoiler.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
because like Pat said, there's that boy. He's not the biological son of the woman that he was with, and you know they still didn't give too much away about what Kagutaba is. Because they say like, oh, he's a force of mayhem, which was something else that was interesting too, was that Kagutaba was something that arrived from the West, which is completely different from what Western movies or like what movies have done where like where they take place in the West or whatever, where like they always say something like this creature, this entity or something spooky arrived from the East, arrived from, you know, an Asian country, or arrived from Africa, or it's like voodoo or something. Like, no, this came from the fucking West. We don't know what this is. And I just think that's interesting. And then I just think that like, I like to think in my head that like Kagutaba, like you said, isn't a demon, but is like some kind of complex and abstract entity that's trying to like manifest. Because I think it'd be kind of cool. Like the reason why she drew Kagutaba instead of the letters and numbers is like kind of like a weird like this creature is like, or this thing is so like whatever like those symbols or numbers mean. It's like they actually equal the entity. Like it's just so weird and complex and cool. Yeah, and then also one of the psychics in there, he's kind of loony or whatever. He wears tinfoil and stuff.
He's literally wearing an
ectoplasmic worms.
Hat.
Yeah, he was talking about ectoplasmic worms, and it's like, okay, what are those? That's kind of neat. There's some reason they exist in the future, but they also exist in the present, in the past, and they're infecting stuff. Like, I don't know. That was to me interesting. And then like even when there also is creepy stuff like in the footage itself, like there's a part in there where when they first learn about Kagutaba, when the psychic man with the tinfoil, he's trying to find Kana, and he literally says, "What's Kagutaba?" and then just audio, starts screaming, and then there's this footage of the Kagutaba mask and stuff, like interlaced into the regular footage like an artifact. That was really creepy. This is just such a creepy movie in general. Fuck, it's so good.
Yeah, and it's not like scary in like the traditional horror movie sense. There's a lot of like images, and the overall tone sticks with me more than like say like something like As Above So Below, where it's just like boo, spooky,
because there's not any to me it doesn't feel like any jump scare, because like to me like just the atmosphere and just like the slow build of suspense that gets you worked up, and like more out of any of them, like aesthetically this feels like, because all the rest of the movies like, hey, these are movies this was filmed that was found by another party and we're putting it together, like the people in it, they're disappeared or they're dead, and this is all we have left of their account. And just like the way the film looks, it really feels like we found this tape and we put it together. We don't know what the fuck is it about.
Yeah, because a lot of like especially newer found footage movies have this feeling of they feel more constructed, and
plus that's just by nature of like technology looks really good now, so like it's kind of hard to give it like that old found vibe when you get like an iPhone, like it's not going to give the same look.
Yeah, and there's something about like lower quality video that is in some ways makes things more terrifying. I heard the argument that, and this is kind of a tangent, for the original Alien, the best and only way to watch it is on VHS on a CRT TV, because of the lower quality enhances the horror.
I could see that.
Oh, wow.
But just with the film, like when it sort of had like these small moments of like, okay, this is a spooky thing where a ghost is happening. Like it's small, but it gets you. Like when the idol girl, the celebrity girl who has like this like sixth sense, she goes to like, oh, we're the celebrities of the week and we're checking out this haunted shrine, and there's a bit that was cut out from her footage because she has like this like spell where she freaks out. You see like this tiny like boy-like shape with the Kagutaba face like off in the distance, and just for a second, and that's enough to spook you.
And you can totally miss it too, but it's like if you're paying attention, it's like holy fuck. Yeah, and it's a little shit like that, and there's not many special effects, which I think works to the movie's favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when he gets to the big like crescendo, when he had the whole mystery and he found out about the woman and her connection to, or like the slow like a destruction of all the people who were involved with the story, either like almost all tangentially, until it gets down to like just the core people working with it. Like it's really sort of unnerving how like even like it's just entity deliberately causing these people to die, or like it's just the sheer force of his presence is just malefic and destructive on its own. Because that's one of the mysteries of the movie. Because like he may not be intending to kill all these people. It's just like him by his nature is destructive. So it may not be deliberately, because the reason why this creature is even in play is because it was deliberately summoned to be used as a weapon at the will of these sorcerers that lived in this abandoned village. And then at a certain point, it just kind of like, you know what? I'm tired of this. But it's like whether or not it's purposely malevolent, it's kind of left up to debate for what you just have to kind of figure out for yourself when watching the movie.
Yes.
Because the people who do use it, they're deliberately malevolent and they're deliberate, but you don't know if it itself is willing this because it itself seeks destruction, or it's just sort of by its nature corrodes and corrupts and perverts whatever's around it, and it just kind of wants to be its own thing, which is interesting in itself.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was something that was cool, is that the village historian the guy who like kind of keeps up with some of the history, he was just like they were controlling Kagutaba, and then one day it didn't want to listen. And that's literally when all the bad shit started happening. It didn't listen, so they tried to imprison it, and then to appease it, they did those like Kagutaba rituals. And there's even a really chilling scene where like there's actual footage, the last ritual ever, and you know, one of the characters, one of the women, she's like a young woman in this video, she's wearing a Kagutaba mask and she like freaks out. That's also really chilling. The screams really got to me, especially with the idol woman. Like, I don't know, that like really good job.
Yeah, and then the woman in the old ritual is the one that shows up at the very beginning of the movie in that decrepit house that he goes to, and yeah, it's just like holy shit.
And then sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, again, more connections too, because there's a you know, she appears later at the end, and there's like the idol girl who's been influenced by Kagutaba. She keeps like making these drawings, and so do all these other people, and like those drawings, those little they look nonsensical, or they look like nothing, just like circles and lines, but then those are actually from the shrine from the village of a tiny rock. Like, that was so cool. And then yeah, sorry, go ahead, Pat.
And probably one of the most chilling things is when they get back to the village after they sort of like find out the whole story, is that this village is still very steeped in this superstition that they have scythes, because that was a symbol that's used to ward off the spirit. They have dogs that sort of sense the supernatural and sort of like traditionally kept evil at bay. And then when they go back to the village, it's silent. The dogs that were once barking, they're no longer there. And then you kind of go back to the lady's house for the last time, and you see the dead pigeons, but somehow are harbingers of the spirits present. You see dead dogs in the house because she had killed them all. And then you get up to like this decrepit house where you see the woman who sort of kicked the whole thing off. She had hung herself, and you see the little boy that she was with is hiding in the corner. You see the little girl, the psychic girl, she's dead. Like, the case, it's heartbreaking because it kind of goes to like the real, like, kind of a true crime spot where like a little girl or a little child goes missing, and they can't save her. And then you don't see it, but then you're sort of told that as part of the ritual, this little girl was going to be made like the vessel or the medium or a conduit for the spirit, that she was fed aborted fetuses because the woman was formerly a nurse in an abortion clinic. And that was like that was her transposing the old ritual into modern day to summon the spirit.
Yeah. And then just sort of like, go ahead.
I'm very excited about this movie. I love it. I love how creepy it is. I was just gonna say, because originally in the ritual they would get monkey fetuses, but they can't get monkeys anymore, so they have to use human fetuses. And this woman would perform illegal abortions and then steal the fetuses. Pretty fucking creepy.
And then like when you see the final, because the story wraps up, it's bittersweet. Like we know. You know what happens. We know at least what happened to the girl, and there's like all these people kind of left dead by the landfall of this case, but there's still one last thread to tie up. Is that at the beginning of the documentary, we know that the main character, the investigator, his house burned down with his wife inside, and he himself is just missing. And then there's one last like set of footage, because we have a movie made of the initial investigation that we all saw. And then mysteriously another camcorder shows up with one last tape. And it's from the main character who's filming him after he adopts a young boy. It's like, 'cause the boy wasn't related to the woman's. He's just kind of like, you think like, oh, did she kidnap this boy? So he's sort of like very sort of despondent and non-registering of like stimulus. So...
The one time where they should have just kicked that kid to foster care,
because we see like the crazy psychic show back up, and it's like, oh, there's something wrong with this kid, we need to get rid of him. It's like, listen, dude, this is okay, he's just a guy. And then like shit goes bell end, because the psychic escaped from his institution, and he starts like beating the shit out of the main character. And he tries to punch the kid, but then like apparently the kid is like the vessel for the spirit, and so like he manifests and then makes the psychic like go crazy. He makes the wife douse herself in gas and set her on fire. Set herself, which is really chilling. While the main character has been bludgeoned to near death, and he's kind of like calling out for his wife as she's screaming and burning, and he watched the demon boy and the crazy psychic leave, and then the movie just goes up in flames after that.
And then like Kana's in the corner too.
Yeah, like it's like she was killed to sort of invoke the spirit, and there's a really spooky bit where at the end it's played earlier before, like the camera goes in like night vision. You see for literally a second, like Kana's spirit surrounded by the spirits of the dead fetuses.
Yeah,
which is like,
Yep.
ooh, that's spooky.
Yeah.
And
No,
also
like-
the crazy psychic gets crunched up in an air duct and is killed somehow.
Yep. Yeah. No, like me and Colt talked about it. Like that end scene where he starts bashing the kid's head in with the rock. Like that was already unsettling. Then when the kid shows his face to be Kagutaba, oh my god, fuck.
Yeah.
It was like the whole movie is chilling, and that was just like a great send off. This is like of all the movies, this is easily has our highest recommendation.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, check it out. I would have more to say, but the last time I saw this movie was last October, and this is the one movie I didn't get to watch again this time around.
SMH. That's
I
okay.
watched one other
No.
movie because I thought we were gonna do it, but I suffered.
But no one
through
else got to it.
It. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because,
suffered through it.
Because Cannon, he was also going to be part of the show, just because like Liz, just last minute things came up and he wasn't able to join us. He had picked the movie. We can just talk about it real quick before we wrap up today, just for us a little bit. He had picked the movie because he really enjoys found footage, but the movie he's picked was kind of on a lark because whether anybody, if y'all knew, I can't remember if we mentioned on the show, but Cannon is the son of a Bigfoot hunter. And he sort of, like as a nod to his, quote, heritage, he picked a found footage movie about Bigfoot called Exist, which, funnily enough, was directed by the guy who made the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah. It's garbage. I didn't have fun watching it. It was not good. It was funny. It was funny in a bad way.
I read a plot summary that small Bigfoot dies.
Yeah, they run over the Bigfoot's mom, and not the Bigfoot's mom, the
Baby.
the baby. They run over the baby, and then the mom's just mad, and they're killing them the whole.
Wait, hold on. Let's take it back. Not a baby, a Bigfoot child.
Yeah, and then at
It's
the
a
very
baby.
end of the movie, the Bigfoot mother drags the people to a pit where the baby's child is rotting, and then she proceeds to bash the dude in the head. He runs away. He could shoot her, and he's like, you know what? Just kill me. Make it over. End it all. And then she runs away, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, because it says he said sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
but it's just Bigfoot. It's bad.
I don't know. That ending's kind of poetic to me. Cole. I haven't watched it, but I'll say it.
Also, the Bigfoot is the ugliest Bigfoot I've ever seen.
Hell yeah.
Because it was funny because, like, there's a scene, like, when I was looking up the movie, like, one of the clips on Google was, like, you see, like, Bigfoot, like literally mid-jump in the air, and I'm like, did Bigfoot just, like, about to, like, Superman punch somebody? I will say, like,
Fuck.
just in terms of Bigfoot movies, this Bigfoot looked better than the Bigfoot that was in the movie called The Man Who Killed Hitler Then Bigfoot. Which, that's a fucking wild-ass movie, and maybe not in the way you think it is.
I mean, with the title like that, you'd expect it to be fucking wild.
Yes.
That's the one with Sam Elliott, right?
Yeah, Sam Elliott. Who, like in the movie, the title says he kills Hitler, and then he kills Bigfoot.
I
Damn,
kind of
don't
want to
spoil
check
it.
it out. I like
And what's-
Sam
what's-
Elliott.
And which I will say, it's worth the watch. Spoiler alert, your expectations might be subverted, but it's still a pretty good movie. But I think we're fresh out of movies for today, and we really appreciate y'all listening today. It was the big boy today. We appreciate you sticking through to the end. We had a good time watching these movies in one way or another.
And how would everyone rank these? Just before we go.
I would say my number one, Troll Hunter. Second, Noroi. Third, oh man, as above, so below. Fourth, pooping keep tapes, and the last is Hell House.
The Poughkeepsie Tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably say my favorite was Noroi, then Troll Hunter, Poughkeepsie Tapes, As Above, So Below, and Hell House.
Mine would be Noroi, Toy Hunter, Troll Hunter, As Above, So Below, Poughkeepsie Tapes, and
Pee Tapes.
and then no, excuse me, I'm sorry, Hell House, then Poughkeepsie Tape.
Oh.
Yeah.
All
Get that
right.
right, Pat. Mine would have to be, of course, Noroi the Curse. Number 2 would be the Poughkeepsie Tapes. Number 3 would have to be that's tough. Troll Hunter. Number 4 would be As Above, So Below. Number 5 would be Hell House, LLC.
Oh, wow. So there's a little bit of variation in there.
That's something I really enjoyed. Is like, because with a lot of the movies, we kind of fall about the same sort of feelings, and that sort of illustrated here. But then, like, there is a good bit of variance as well, which, like, that's always just really fun, because even amongst friends, we can have just really different opinions about the exact same thing, and just see the same thing in different ways, which that's kind of an obvious statement, but it's still really fun to see that in front of you and hear it as well. So again, we really appreciate you watching this today, and sticking with us as we're going along on our spooky trek this month. We still got more spooky to go, and we hope you're along for that ride as well. And you can follow us and listen to us and anywhere online that we're available. You can listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Spotify, and any RSS feed catcher out there. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe on all those platforms. 5 stars. Share it with your friends. That helps us out. Just puts in front of new people, puts us higher up in all those ever-changing algorithms, and just keeps the show going. And we do appreciate that when you do that. You can follow us on our socials on Twitter and Instagram at AYCH Podcast, on Letterboxd and Facebook at All You Can Hear, twitch.tv.com/All You Can Hear, and YouTube also at All You Can Hear. And lastly, you can follow me, Patrick, on Twitter, on Letterboxd, and Instagram at John Lost His Name, and follow my art on Facebook at John Lost His Name Art.
My name is Jonathan. You can follow me on Twitter at JONIIBOI24 and Letterboxd at JohnOwnSon12 for all my pretentious movie opinions.
My name is Colt. Follow me on Twitter at ColtD00. Thank you for listening. Don't look at the little mask baby boy. Don't look at it.
Thank you for listening. You can follow me, Wenzel, on Twitter at WenzelWiki. You can follow my art on Instagram at World of Wenzy. You can follow my Letterboxd and Goodreads. I'm Wenzy on one of those. I know I'm Wenzy on Letterboxd. I don't know what I am on Goodreads, but I have a link tree. You can go to my link tree, and those links will be on there in the bio of my Twitter and Instagram. And if you stayed this long, guess what? You're going to be paid off with a post-credits scene right now.
What? There's a post-credit scene?
What?
What's the
Did y'all see that in the corner over there?
Oh.
Oh, fuck!
Oh, fuck!
Cole, what's that behind you?
They're eating falafel!
Ah!
What's Kagutaba?
And those 4 souls were never heard from again.
Good night and Merry Christmas to all.
Good night.
To all of 4th of July.
Bye.